Hi, sweeties. How are you doing? Welcome to Naya Sim or Cimnanya, and thank you all so much for all the love and support. Hope you all are doing great. So today I saw this video and I was like, I am definitely bringing this here because why not? It's about a pop colored man who actually came out to say that Africans should get ready because there is going to be war, like African and European this thing. And I am asking who actually told him that. But then the reality is that you do not need to ask who told him that because this has been going on for a longer period of time. A lot of people know that it's been happening. Look at what is going on in Congo and some other places. You definitely will know that there is something going on. And some other countries also that they invade, and when they invade them, you see some of this, they it depends on where they invade. You see them running away from there, or because there is something they saw there that they want to take. And I am so happy that Niger also pushed France. Like, really, I am happy that a lot of African countries are waking up, but we are not fully awake. We really need to do something. We need to unite to fight against what is fighting us. I mean, let's quit all these jollof rice. Who cooks better jollof rice? Who has the best African Afrobeat? Or who has the, we really need to wake up and tighten our territory against them instead of using the money that they are, okay, the money they are selling out from here. We can invest it in our own countries. But how do we make this happen? Our leaders. We need to get better leaders. Let's get into.
And that means we in Europe need to already start looking ahead and thinking ahead about how we are going to win the war against Africa, because there will be a future war between Europe and Africa.
Now, Africans, I hope you heard and understood what he just said. This nihilistic narcissist, haunted by demons and delusions, says, quote and unquote, there will be a future war between Europe and Africa. Listen again.
There will be a future war between Europe and Africa.
You heard him, right? Okay. While your Africans fight one another over jollof rice, generator, AFCON, and Amapiano, some Dutch dimwit is preparing the minds of his people for a potential war against all of you, irrespective of your jollof rice, irrespective of your electricity, irrespective of your Afrobeat. Now, have you ever paused for a minute to even ponder the reason for this clarion call for a potential European war against Africa? Do you know why the West is so afraid of Africa in the next 10 years? Why they are so afraid? No, but let me tell you, it's because some African youths, I'm one of them, we are already waking up and breaking free from the mental shackles of the West. So while you sit there behind your keyboards, while you sit there behind your phone screens to impishly type damaging, derogating, vituperative and invective things about your fellow African brothers and sisters and their countries, while you fight one another over whose jollof rice is the best, or who has the best football team in this AFCON, electricity supply, or the best English accent. Like, seriously? English accent, a colonizer's language. Now, while you bash and drag other Africans who are also victims of the same system you are a victim of, but probably because you are more of a house Negro. Now, some Europeans are already planning for a war against Africa, against you, all of you. Shame on you. Not a war against Ghana, not a war against Nigeria or South Africa or Cameroon or Kenya, but against Africa. And all you do is fight one another. And you keep wondering how Africa was defeated and subjugated. How did they do it? Why did our forefathers blah 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 blah? You keep wondering how it is possible that the West, so completely duplicitous and unworthy, how they have ruled the world for thousands of years. This is exactly the reason. What you are doing is exactly the reason. It's because all of you put your energy into counting the stars while the moon passes you by. Shame on all of you. Shame on you Nigerians. Shame on you Cameroonians, Ghanaians, South Africans, all of you fighting one another like dogs fighting their own kinds over their human masters. Have you seen dogs? You see the way they fight one another when they see, because they are with their masters. You keep barking incessantly at one another like stray dogs and keep washing all your dirty linens outside. While you sleep, while you fight, they are preparing war against you. Now, I have always said this, and I will say it for the opting time. Our common enemy, doesn't care about the geographical and political borders that separate an Akan in Ghana from a Diola in Ivory Coast. They don't care. Or an Edo in Nigeria from a Bassa, Bamileke, or Bakundu in Cameroon. They don't care. Our common enemy doesn't care which African country has the best electricity supply. Our common enemy doesn't care which African country has the best pepper, Cameroon pepper, or jollof rice, or amapiano. They only care to see us disunited, weak and susceptible to conquer. And that is what we are doing. And we are here making it easy for them. Now, I know some of us would say he's just one man. Why worry over something that one man said? You see, that is the mentality. When a colonizer oversteps boundaries, you are tolerant. But when an African does less, you bash him, you drag him, you wash him, you drag the entire country. That is the level of self-hate in your heart. Now, this lunatic, this guy who calls himself the Great Johannes, started very small. I remember I reacted to one of his videos back in December, and then he had just a few thousand followers. His followers then, they were still less than 10K. But today he has garnered over 46,000 followers with the same hate content against melanated people in Africa. He's gathering people. You see, this is why we should take any anti-African agenda seriously. Let's hear why he said the Europeans should be preparing for a war against Africa. Let's listen to him.
It is
an agenda seriously. Let's hear why he said the Europeans should be preparing for a war against Africa. Let's listen to him.
It is, of course, obvious that we Europeans in the North need to prepare for a potential African rise in terms of technology and therefore also in terms of military capacity. And that means we in Europe need to already start looking ahead and thinking ahead about how we are going to win the war against Africa.
Can you imagine that? Now, not because we are building bombs and making guns or trying to invade any EU country, but simply because we are developing and advancing. That is the threat. Do you see what a European sees as a threat? Now, this same nihilistic narcissist, this Ozuo Numa Konewiri Okmo, he said he knows we want our Wakanda, but we shouldn't expect Europe to hand it to us. An insult. Just listen to what he said. Listen to the insult.
I know you want to have your Wakanda, right? But do you expect white people to give it to you? No, you're supposed to build it yourself.
You see? You see how conflicted this Ozuo is. He says we are expecting Europe to give us our Wakanda. And at the same time, he's planning a war because Africa is trying to build their own Wakanda. How can you juxtapose these two facts? Can you juxtapose them? You see how conflicted this boy is. Now, you see how troubled, how delusional he is. Now, suggesting that Africans are expecting Europeans to hand us our Wakanda. In fact, it's an insult. It's an oversimplification of the aspirations and struggles of the African people. All the struggle, everything we are doing, this guy just bashed them. Many Africans are working hard today. Trust me, a lot of Africans are working hard towards sustainable development, economic empowerment, and political stability on our own terms. That is what we are fighting for. That's what we are working for. So painting the situation as a mere expectation from Europe overlooks the very agency and resilience of all hard-working Africans who are trying to fix the mess his forefathers created and left for us in Africa. Yes. Now, I really appreciate the fact that he cast aspersion on our leaders. I have no problem with that. Okay? They are undeniably, they deserve whatever he called them. Okay? But it is also crucial to acknowledge that historical evidence reveals a complex and often exploitative relationship between colonial masters and the African nations. It has been exploitative. The kind of relationship has been exploitative. Now, while I agree that corruption exists, of course I know, I agree corruption exists within most African governments, if not all. But attributing the entire issue to internal corruption oversimplifies again a much larger historical context, because the legacy of colonization, unequal trade practices, and resource exploitation has played and is still playing a significant role in shaping the current dynamics of Africa. Tell me, how can Switzerland, Germany, Belgium, Italy, Poland, how can they be the top chocolate producing countries when they don't even have a single tree of cocoa? They don't have a single tree. Ivory Coast produces 30% of the whole cocoa in the world. The Swiss are the largest consumers of chocolate per capita. Now, in the United States, do you know that in the United States, Americans eat about 2.8 billion pounds of chocolate each year? And now, when Ghana decides that, okay, you know what, let's start producing our chocolate. We don't want to export the raw materials anymore. We don't want to export our cocoa. We want to produce our own chocolate and start exportation. What happens? Sanction. Then you come here, Johannes, with your myopic and parochial mindset to gaslight Africans that our resources are still in Africa and that it's our leaders that are selling them to yours. Can you imagine the effronteries? Your problem is what we call Dunning-Kruger effect. A kind of a cognitive bias that makes you wrongly overestimate your knowledge or savoir-faire in things you are clueless about. Your pithy brain fails to tell you that you are you are implicating your own leaders by calling them fences. You know what is fence? Fence. Because your leaders, they are providing a ready market for stolen goods. Your leaders enable thieves, that is our leaders. Your leaders enable them to quickly turn their loot into cash and keep the masses in abject poverty. A system that has incentivized theft and looting among African leaders for so many years since colonization. Shame on you and your leaders. Shame on all of you, and shame on our leaders too. Now, Africans, listen. The world is free to hate us if that is what they want. They are free. But we should never hate ourselves. Let's stop all this bantering, all this dragging. Shame on all of you Africans. This is the time we need to unite. They are preparing for war. Why? Because they see that Africans are waking up. This is the time we have to wake up and take our countries and stop fighting one another. Shame on all of you.
So this is all I got from this video. And this man, I really need to know, there is need for people to question him why and where he got the information from. But we all already know that right from time, there has always been war, and it's not like it's something that is going to happen. It's been happening and all with that. Look around what has been going on, Congo, I hate, like, oh, so many of them, so many places like that, and the fact that sometimes Africans, like, we woke up to fight one another over some irrelevant things and all that. It's something that I really think that it's very stupid. Instead of putting so much energy to know who has the best jollof rice or who doesn't got the best Afrobeat and all that, I think it's really high time we unite. Like he said, like, it is time to unite as one and fight what it's fighting. I like the examples he gave. He was actually very correct about them and all that. The truth is that they really do not want to see us progressing and all that. So all they do is look for a way. Okay, they have been leeching, like, since we met them, where we're still the same place, running circle and all that. Like, stealing from the fact that they know that they are stealing from us, and also, like, they post about it to also tell you that, what can you people do about it? But then I keep saying it, that I blame our leaders, the ones that have given them all the opportunities. Instead of investing the opportunities they give them, and they carry away from here to their own country to establish and make their own place better, instead of putting it all in our own country. It's really very sad that African leaders, most of them, they've sold their souls. And that is, yes, I'm saying the truth. But I am hoping that one day we are going to have leaders that are against the Westerners, that are standing against the Westerners, that have the interest of their own citizens at heart and at large, because they do not care about us. All they want to do is look for a way to gather all the money they are supposed to gather and all that. Like, look at some countries in Africa. It is not like they do not have a lot. They have a lot, because most countries like Africa, it's more like Africans are the ones feeding Europeans, and without Africa they cannot survive, and they know quite well that they are living off Africa. So some of them, if anything happens to African country or some countries, like, you see them, like, running helter-skelter, because they are doomed. They are like, and then they start looking for another place they will go and leech. You all remember how Israel actually said that we need to save when we need to save Palestine, right? When we're done saving Palestine, we are coming to Africa. So you can see how they are saving Palestine. You see the condition of Palestine as it stands. So when by the time they come here because they are going to save us, because we're dying of hunger and all, so they will be coming to save us. So by the time they come, who knows what we are expected to see, So I keep saying it, not until Africans, let them wake up and tighten their territory, and stop them from eating from us. Let's invest the money that we are giving them into our own to sustain ourselves, Like he explained, you all can see the largest cocoa distant are in Africa, Ivory Coast, excuse me, Ivory Coast and some other countries. But how come Switzerland and some other countries and all, like, European countries are the ones manufacturing cocoa so much, And when Ghana woke up against them, and the next thing they started banning some certain things and all of that. Do I need to keep explaining all this? The cocoa, the timber, the iron, the ore, and the gold and all that, the cobalt. What am I going to say? And which one will I talk and leave the rest? You all know that they are living off Africa. And they are going to keep, not until African leaders wake up, they will continue to live off Africa. And so I don't know where he has the guts to come out to tell us that, we all better be ready. It's all right. It's really all right, But our leaders can do better. We can also do better. See you all in my next video. Bye for now.